Welcome back, Kernels, to another video. I just got home from seeing Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Let's talk about it. So I just got home from seeing Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and I had pretty big expectations going into this. I grew up with a lot of the Sonic games, grew up playing, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors is probably my favorite Sonic game, and with the inclusion of Shadow in this movie, I had really high expectations. I'm going to give you all of my thoughts on just everything that went on in the movie, but there will be a spoiler and non-spoiler side of things, so if you don't want to know what happened, go watch the movie and then save this video, come back later so you don't miss, my thoughts on stuff like that. But if you just want, my regular spoiler-free reaction, check out the non-spoiler stuff. Let's go. So starting with the non-spoiler stuff. The fights are very good. They very much live up to the hype that you're expecting them to in the trailer. Everything that they show you is great. It looks great. No complaints. Actually kind of had, there were just, not only the fight scenes, but a lot of, the action scenes. Like, there was one specifically that's shown in the trailer of Shadow, on the water. That was really cool. Jim Carrey kind of carries over his personality from the first two movies. He's weird, he's funny, he's just a weird, fat Robotnik, and it's hard not to love him when he's on screen. Shadow is really great, although I will say I wish they had spent a little bit more time on his story, and not so much what happened, but just his evolution of what he became. Because it really feels like they did the whole thing where it's like, oh, well, because one bad thing happened to him, he's instantly just this dark version, he wants to kill everyone and everything. And it just kind of happened with really no explanation, and they kind of rushed into it. But I still think that Keanu Reeves does a really good job as Sonic, and that he's a good character in the movie. Probably my biggest complaint with the movie is that they rush a lot of the plot, and a lot of the plot really, I wouldn't say it's non-existent, but it's kind of weak. I'm gonna call it weak sauce, and that it's completely revolved around the action scenes, whereas instead of the action scenes are just an extension of those really good scenes in between, the action scenes are definitely the focus here, whereas the plot of the movie is kind of on the back burner, which I wouldn't mind, but I'll kind of get to that in my spoiler part. And obviously, the movie visually looked good. You've seen the trailers, we see how Shadow looks, we see how everyone looks in this movie. There are a couple cool shots that they do with Tails, Knuckles, and all of them. It just visually looks good. And now on to the spoiler stuff. So the basic plot is that literally at the very beginning of the movie, Shadow is released because the one older Grandpa Robotnik releases him. He hacks into the system and kind of takes Shadow out of his stasis that he's in. Shadow escapes, teams up with him, and basically they need these two keys so that they can just destroy the Earth. Now, Shadow does kind of get curious. He's like, why are we doing this? And, should we be doing this, right? It becomes the very, we're gonna just destroy the world kind of plot. And it can get a little, I don't want to say cringe, but it becomes very stereotypical at some times. Which is kind of one of the reasons why I felt like they rushed the plot and didn't really think about it too much, and they were just trying to get to those big action sequences. The final battle is very cool. You get to see Sonic and Shadow both use the Chaos Emeralds to, kind of have this one-on-one fight, and it's very great. It visually looks great. It got a lot of cheering from people in my crowd, including me. I was very excited about it. What was also really cool is that at one point in the fight, he has a whole talk, and it's a monologue thing where Shadow kind of turns, to fight on the good side. And when they start teaming up against the Grandpa Robotnik, who's kind of the main villain of this movie, they play Live and Learn from, if you're a Sonic fan, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and it's just as cool as you think it would be. It had people cheering in my theater. It was an exciting time if you were a Sonic fan. One of my biggest gripes with the final battle, though, is that Tails and Knuckles play almost no role in the final battle. There's this whole thing where Sonic kind of goes off on his own. They're like, please don't go off on your own because we're a team. And I thought there really was going to be a moment in that final battle where they're they show up and they actually fight. But no, they don't at all. Sonic does fall. He starts falling towards Earth at one point, and they save him, but they never actually fight anyone, and that was really disappointing. One of the other things that, and this is kind of a trend in the first Sonic movie, the second one, but in this one, it's really, like, they really hone in on it. I wasn't a fan of it. The best way I can describe it is like this. Sonic will say a line like this, like, "Oh yeah, like, what are you gonna do?" And then that very thing happens. And it's a lot of those moments, like, stacked on top of each other. He'll be like, "Oh, like, you're just a like he'll be like, "What are you gonna do? Like you look like me," and then he just does the thing. And that kind of dialogue just gets really old after a while. I know this movie's for, I don't know if this movie's just for kids, because, you know, a lot of those kids have really never played Sonic games before. Sonic's pretty an older franchise. So, I don't know, I guess for people like me that grew up with Sonic, those kinds of lines just got old really fast. Again, Jim Carrey does a good job as playing two different kinds of Robotniks. It's actually pretty funny because at one point in the movie, they literally address what everyone has been thinking. He goes, "It's almost like we're the same actor, like, playing the same character, you know, or something like that." They have some kind of line. That's literally a line in the movie, and they both look at the camera. It was really weird. I didn't expect it, but sure, whatever. The end credits are really cool. I definitely recommend staying for both of them, but the mid-credit scene is really where my theater kind of erupted. And you get to see Metal Sonic, like an army of Metal Sonics surround Sonic, and then Amy actually comes in and hits them with the hammer, and you get to see, like, a reveal of what she kind of looks like. Very cool. Very, very cool. And the final one is just showing that Shadow is still alive after the events of the movie. So that's very cool. Yeah, guys, all in all, it's a decent movie. I think that Sonic 2 is a better movie, but I think Sonic 3 is gonna get a little bit more hype behind it because, like, more plot evolves, if that makes sense. Like, there's more evolving in the plot, but I don't think as a movie that it's better. That's kind of the best way I can put it, but let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below on what you thought about Sonic 3. Are you gonna go see it? Or are you a longtime Sonic fan? What was your first Sonic game? Let me know all of that down in the comments, and I will see you all in the next video, Kernels. Peace.